Here's just in the news right now, folks. Hello, here's news squash. Hold on for brain. Hi, here's some more news with me. Cody, hello. Sorry, I don't talk anymore between these videos, so it takes a moment to shake off the web's brain hurt, the space, the thinky part in Skull. Hey, have you heard about this hot new Quibi? Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing the Quibi. A statement that is so true if you subtract most people from the word everyone. But despite the fact that this brand new app is now so unpopular that this video will probably make no sense in a year, I am still going to talk to you about what happened with Quibi, because it's incredible and touches on a lot of larger problems. So that's what this is. It's a big ol' Quibi episode, and there's nothing you can do about that. You have no power over me. So I should probably explain what Quibi actually is. Well, for starters, it turns out that it's not a luxury vibrator brand like I originally assumed. Got all worked up for nothing. But rather, it's a streaming app launched by veteran executives Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman. The word Quibi stands for quick bite, as in episodes that are designed to be watched, or bitten, in a short span of time, or quickly. The genres range everywhere from narrative fiction to reality TV. Each episode constitutes as one of these quick bites, which again can be shortened or quibied into the word Quibi. And the official length of a Quibi is somewhere between 7 and 10 minutes. And we'll get to all that in just a Quibi. But first, a Quibi of history about how we got here. Both Whitman and Katzenberg spent years behind the scenes at DreamWorks, and Katzenberg specifically has a notable past running Disney's motion picture division in the 80s and 90s. His leadership there most importantly resulted in the renaissance of their animated features. In other words, Katzenberg is one of the people you can thank for all your favorite childhood stories about humans f***ing mermaids, or humans f***ing monsters, or humans f***ing literal cartoon characters, or lions f***ing. Also, the one with the rug, and I don't know, I feel like Jafar is doing something weird with that parrot. So we have a lot of sexy reasons to thank Jeffrey Katzenberg. He contributed greatly to the childhoods of an entire generation who can't look at a cartoon shoe without feeling hollow and bleak inside. But as it goes with some film people, his career didn't really peak past that. Katzenberg went on to co-found DreamWorks SKG, and his last big hit was probably Shrek, a movie about humans f***ing ogres. And while he certainly wasn't a failure after that, it sure seemed like he lost his grip on his own industry's future. In 2008, for example, he predicted that the future of cinema was going to be 3D, and that audiences everywhere would own their own personal 3D glasses that they would call movie glasses. You know, like that ridiculous thing that totally didn't happen. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because 2008 is a year after Netflix launched. It's the year Hulu became a thing. It's a year that online movie piracy was a big concern. So we have this obvious foreshadowing to cinema in the digital age. And meanwhile, old school executives like Katzenberg are jazzing about 3D glasses like it's the Rainbow Bridge to Valhalla. So it's kind of no wonder why the film industry was blindsided by streaming. The straight-to-video model was traditionally seen as a vessel for sad sequels like Jarhead 3 and whichever Land Before Time we're up to. And suddenly, it became the preferred method for audiences. 14! Jesus Christ, Littlefoot, how have you not starved to death yet? Wasn't that like your whole thing, how you were all gonna die? Just die already! How long must you suffer? Will no one end your suffering? Who amongst us will step up and do the dark deed we all know must be done? Who will pay the unforgivable price so that this tiny bullshit dinosaur will finally know peace? Anyway, so this is the long road to Quibi. A streaming service started by a person who was grotesquely behind the curve when it came to the future of entertainment. And before even knowing the details of this app, you have to ask, why? Why, in a time where the market is already saturated with streaming options, someone thought it was a good idea to add another this late in the game? One that has zero established brands attached to it. And when you learn exactly what Quibi is, and that why expands like the Big Bang from a shotgun into Littlefoot's brain pan, releasing him. Peace. For startzos, the immediate gimmick of Quibi was inherently antithetical to what makes the entire streaming model successful, which was that Quibi shows could only be exclusively watched on your cell phone. The idea was that Quibi wasn't competing for your home television, but rather designed to inject entertainment into those moments between moments that you normally spend browsing social media. You know, waiting in line, commuting to work, taking a dump, or laying in bed while trying not to think about what it would be like to get buried alive. The obvious problem is that people like social media, and no one asked for something completely different to replace it. Those moments Quibi is trying to fill aren't moments we want to be glued to a TV show. They aren't moments that exist for specific lengths of time, which is why they are best filled by a passive, non-committal activity. And of course, one of the most common times we like to use our phones is when we're watching TV, which means that making us watch shows on our phones takes away the use of our phone. It's the kind of thing anyone with a phone would know, and could only be comically misinterpreted in a broad and cynical perspective from a very rich and out-of-touch person. Quibi's understanding of how young people use their phones seems to have all the nuance of a Facebook meme shared by that uncle who ain't gonna wear no damn mask. Please wear masks. In fact, one of the other features of Quibi is that it completely disables users' ability to share its content on social media, apparently unaware that this is literally the only way shows get popular anymore. While there's been no official reason for this, I'm guessing it's because of the very outdated worries about online piracy, a thing that doesn't really matter anymore. So yeah, it misunderstands everything. And this seems as good of a time as any to note that they spent $1.7 billion to make Quibi. That's enough money to make 485 episodes, or 48 seasons, of Lucifer. A thing you wouldn't want to do, but would still be a better idea than Quibi. A thing you barely know about, because apparently they didn't spend a dime of the $1.7 billion on marketing, or let people watching advertise for them for free via screenshots taken on the phone the show is forcing you to watch it on. Meanwhile, the popularity of streaming really just comes from the fact that it offers literally everything. Streaming is popular the same way video stores were popular, because they're how we watch things we want to watch. It's not a mystery. The answer is to just make good things and have them available. People are making high-quality shows and movies, and then we watch them. On our TVs, or laptops, or maybe sometimes our phones if we're like on a plane or something. The only big improvement to streaming is that it enabled people to binge watch new TV shows commercial-free. But much like the obsession with 3D, there's this weird push to change the physical shape of movies and TV, as if that would somehow make it automatically better or more fresh. And so along with being short, Quibi's other big push is that you can watch their shows on both landscape and portrait modes. Ooh, neat! No longer do I have to watch my favorite movies and shows from down the hall and through a doorway to get that desired cut-off vertical look. Because you've never really seen Lord of the Rings until you've watched only the middle part, or Earth, of the frame. But for I don't know, the last 90 years, it's really just been the one box shape we like to watch things on, right? Sometimes we go to a big room where we watch the box with strangers, and sometimes we use a box in our homes with friends. The box changed more to a rectangle at one point, but that's about it. The box system works just fine. And every time you try to add some kind of gimmick to the box, people are usually like, nah, we're good with this box. So it really comes down to putting a thing on the box that is also good. Just telling a good story. And to be fair and balanced and ready for love, Quibi did know that second part of the equation, which is why it made deals for Quibi content with the likes of Steven Spielberg, Guillermo del Toro, Kevin Hart, Jennifer Lopez, Jason Blum, Queen Latifah, Tom Cruise, Sam Raimi, Ridley Scott, the Farrelly brothers, Reese Witherspoon, Steve Soderbergh, and Mark, I did a hate crime and would rather you forgot about it, Wahlberg. If you were making a movie or a TV show, then these would all be very smart choices. And even better if you crammed them all into one super movie, like some kind of a space horror slapstick comedy where a group of kids find a sexy fish person who learns to love themselves as a strong, independent woman who also committed a hate crime when they were a teenager in Boston. You could call it Ku Klux Cod, and it would be terrible. It would be a bad movie, if I'm being honest. But, Quibi isn't making a movie or a TV show or my shitty fish idea. They're making short-form narrative and non-fiction content, not dissimilar to the things that go viral on the internet. So, it's a little weird that they didn't go to the people who actually have success making those things. Kind of like how Saturday Night Live picked up The Lonely Island. Quibi should have perhaps made offers to the people behind internet content like 5-second films and Red Letter Media, Every Frame a Painting, like so many people online who make stuff. And I don't know, maybe in a time where comedy websites are like laying off a lot of people, it would mean there are a lot of experienced writers and performers looking for that kind of work. Hey everyone, we have a Patreon, check it out in the link below. But instead, Katzenberg called all his industry pals and had them just do the stuff they would normally do, and then crammed it into this new format. They made an adaptation of The Most Dangerous Game and a reboot of The Fugitive with Kiefer Sutherland. And who is going to watch that? What high schooler or on-the-go millennial are you picturing when you decided to make The Most Dangerous Game for your weird streaming app? And because a lot of these Quibis are made by people who normally make movies or TV shows, they didn't actually do the work to make it fit the mobile format. The Most Dangerous Game is apparently a good movie, but it was cut into smaller pieces and then released daily, meaning that you'd have to wait a day to see the next 10 minutes of the movie. Here's a shot of it in the regular landscape mode. And now here it is in portrait mode. They didn't change it to see the whole frame or both of the characters. It's just worse. By the way, those two clips are courtesy of YouTube, where Quibi released the episode because no one was watching it otherwise. Now, this all seems so purposefully designed to anger audiences that you have to assume it's just a big practical joke. And when you combine all of this information with the added fact that Quibi lets their creators retain their copyright, meaning they can, in a few years, re-release these shows and films on a different non-Quibi format, it's hard to think this isn't some kind of moving cog to an elaborate Ocean's 11-style grift too big to fully realize. It's hard to think that this was not conceived solely to hemorrhage money and die. It's such an obviously bad idea that you have to wonder if someone is going to jail because of this. Good God. I need a Quibi. Hold on. Hey, speaking of jail, so along with being a bad idea that was also poorly executed, Quibi also had the added bonus of being shady as f***. Remember what I said about how they probably should have looked at content creators on the internet? Well, it turns out Quibi did do that, but only for one show, and for the purposes of stealing an idea, allegedly. But also, definitely, The Quibi show is called Memory Hole and features host Will Arnett looking at funny vintage home videos. And it just so happens to have the exact same title, premise, and graphics as a popular YouTube series made in 2014 by the website Everything Is Terrible. The creators of the Quibi show have since denied this and blocked everyone on social media pointing out the similarities, offering very little explanation for why their show coincidentally has the same premise, name, and oddly specific graphics as the other show. So not only did they not look to internet creators for talent, but they actively screwed them over. And not like a small internet series, but like a popular one that people would know about, making their crime very obvious and dumb, which is a thing they enjoy doing a lot. Like, this isn't the only plagiarism accusation for Quibi, who sure seem to have stolen the technology for their app, is a question I'm asking. So I can't be sued? It's a real beautiful marriage of a bad idea and a profound lack of goodwill. And to add to this increasing list of hilariously stupid mistakes, there's an extremely real chance that the entire Quibi short-form format was designed to work around union policies. As this one person pointed out on Twitter, by breaking up what are clearly full movies into small episodes, Quibi can technically count them as short-form programs with smaller budgets, and therefore pay their crew and writers less than a feature film. If this is true, it's arguably worse than everything I have previously mentioned. So, to recap, Quibi is a streaming program that takes full movies and shows and then slices them into tiny pieces and forces you to watch them on your phone while disallowing you from sharing anything on social media, that was seemingly spawned from plagiarism and is possibly exploiting their workers, and has only made headlines for the sheer ghoulishness and stupidity of their shows. Like, I haven't even mentioned that confounding golden arm thing, or Murder House Flip, the Quibi show where they do a makeover of a house someone was murdered in. Their first episode being about the place where a 10-year-old was shot to death by her father. Nice work, great show. Where do I watch? Oh, on my phone? Oh, only on my phone? Pass. So yeah, Quibi failed. And all of this, everything I mentioned here, was really just a setup for the main point I need to make, because it all led to this one incredible headline, where Jeffrey Katzenberg blamed coronavirus for why Quibi is failing. Not all the other stuff I've mentioned. Not the clear incompatibility with how we watch TV, or the bad press, or the terrible business model, or the obscene amount of money spent on it. No, that wasn't the problem, and will not serve as a lesson going forward. The real problem, according to this very rich and out-of-touch man who for some reason still has a lot of power, is that there is a pandemic. A thing that, causes people to spend more time with their electronics, and in fact has caused cell phone app downloads to soar while their specific app is failing. That's the reason Quibi failed. Never mind that right before Quibi was released, Katzenberg specifically did an interview where he said he was confident that COVID wasn't going to hurt his app. Never mind the borderline poetic final paragraphs of the New York Times interview, where the interviewer points out to Katzenberg that other apps like TikTok are doing great in the pandemic, and he gets weird and defensive and tells them they are comparing apples to submarines, as if that's the phrase. His final words being confusion over why they would even bring it up. And so despite a very obvious, colossal failure, absolutely nothing was learned. And that kind of sums up how movie studios are right now. There's a lot of people who had great success doing one specific thing, who don't seem to understand how or even care to evolve. But also, they won't just leave. And it's why so many franchises like Star Wars and Superman and Star Trek and Jurassic World seem to have no idea what to do with themselves. And why instead of making new cartoons, the kind that Katzenberg once championed, Disney is just reskinning all their old ones so we can watch that sweet, sweet interspecies f***ing in live action. God, they're going to slap hams so hard. And the harsh truth is that maybe these executives making all these decisions need to step down. And not just in this one industry, but a lot of industries. This is a time where young people are really hurting for money and security and the future and can't start their own lives. And there's these old rich people who refuse to make room and have a lot of outdated and obviously bad ideas they can't let go of and are making it really hard for us all to move forward. Like, there's a whole show about it on HBO, a network with shows you can watch on a television. So it's just a bummer, because their bad ideas and refusal to move aside is costing a lot of money and will possibly drag down the thing they love before the young people even have a chance to take over. Just driving it all straight into the ground, you know, because they refuse to change or go away and are out of touch and hurting their own alleged goals. Anyway, here's a picture of Joe Biden for some reason. Just kind of felt like putting that picture up there. Hi, Joe. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching that video. You're the best. But you'd be bester if you like and subscribe and do the YouTube stuff. Also check out our podcast, Even More News, and our patreon.com/some more news. And, I don't know, TeePublic probably. And yes, Trump's worse than Biden. We know. Shut the f*** up. But also thank you.